Hello. Oh, we're good. Okay. Hello. It's Tuesday. It's the second Tuesday of May, and it's time for Gallowclass. And I would like to say thank you everybody who is tuning in, and we'll get to the actual meat of the class, living up to expectations, in a second. Or not in a second, but in a little bit. But I want to say we hit 101 subscribers to my Twitch channel today. I'm super jazzed. Okay, so thank you everybody who's watching. For those of you who may be tuning into this later, either here on Twitch or on YouTube after I post this video to my YouTube channel, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I've been thinking about what I wanted to do for my audience, for you guys, once I hit 100 for that milestone. And what I'm gonna do now is accept submissions, single page submissions. I'm gonna put this on the website with a link to my email. I will be accepting single page submissions of fiction or essays or something about fiction that I will use in the Gallowclass sessions. And it won't be the best, it won't be the worst. It will be submissions that I feel will help me best articulate the point that I'm trying to make with each specific class. And I won't delete them. They'll stay in a special file, and as I'm putting together a lesson and thinking about it, I'll go through and I'll kind of scan what everybody submitted. So even if and we'll start that in June. We'll give people a month to prepare, kind of get themselves psyched up to send me stuff. And the second Tuesday in June, we'll start that. I'll start that, and because I haven't decided what June that lesson is going to be. But I'll use something from you guys, if I get any submissions, to help articulate what I'm talking about. So so that's what we're gonna do. So and again, I'm not gonna delete any of those. So what I'll do, and keep those in a file, so that as I go through, so even if I don't use your submission in June or July or August, maybe by the time we get to September, it'll be something really, really, really cool. Something you sent me will resonate with what I want to talk about in one of the lessons in September, and we'll use that. So the next milestone I want to make is 250 subscribers or followers. 200. I get confused between subscribers and followers. 250. I would like 250. So for all of you out there, tell your friends, have them come and follow me on Twitch. When I do 250, what we'll do is I'll do an extra long extended bonus episode of Gallowclass, and I will just talk about people's writing. I'll do for that I won't even necessarily pick. I'll just come up with some random way and have them just come up and have Cody put them up on the screen. And so I'll and I'll just talk about people's writing and what and what we can learn by the submissions that people are making, so that we can all be better. All right, cool, awesome. I hope everybody's had a really good last couple of weeks. It's my birthday in the middle. I'm another year older. I had a pretty awesome birthday, with the exception of one hiccup. One small hiccup. One of my heroes passed away, one of my dance heroes, and that was really sad. But then I went out dancing, and all was good. So,
how fitting.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. So, but now let's talk about writing. There's been a lot of chatter lately, with two really big iconic nerd properties kind of coming to an end, that have been polarizing lately. And what, Cody?
Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Yeah,
Wrapped it up.
What? No.
Those are the two big properties, right, that you're talking about?
Yeah, Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. No. I'm talking about Endgame and Game of Thrones. Now, as I said on the Facebook event, on the Facebook event page, and one of the tweets that I sent out today are going to be spoilers for both Avengers Endgame and the totality of, but especially this season of Game of Thrones, because I'm going to talk about meeting and living up to expectations. And okay, and now I'm like iffy, because I know that I'm going to piss some people off here. The irony is so anyway, but before we get into those, one of the things that I'm an ending guy. I know other people. I know one of my teachers in my MFA program, who I respect, was like, we were talking about something, and I said, it's so dumb. The ending was lame. He says, I don't care about the ending. The sentences were beautiful, and it was so wonderful. And I was like, all right, you go be happy with that. I want it all. I want beautiful sentences. I want wonderful prose. I want great story arcs. I want my ending. I want my ending to fit the rest of the thing. There's so many times where I've gotten to the end of something, and it's such a letdown. And I am so glad that I did not watch the last season of Dexter, because from everything I heard, what people told me, I was like, oh, thank God I didn't waste my time on that. The reboot for Battlestar Galactica, I watched like halfway through that show, and then it got to a point where it's like, no, I can't do this anymore. And somebody told me what the ending was, and I said, oh, that would have so pissed me off. Oh my God. Anyway, so
Leo says that's a travesty.
What?
That was a travesty, Dexter.
Oh yes. Anyway, but I want to talk about these two properties, both the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Game of Thrones, in that they've set up certain expectations. Now, what I'm not saying is that you have to play fan service. You don't have to give your readers or your fans or whatever, you don't have to give them the ending they're expecting or the ending they're demanding. I don't care. I don't want to say I don't care. I was going to say I don't care what when I'm writing, I'm not writing, especially not the first draft, with the reader in mind. I'm writing with the story in mind. And there are certain things, because I'm an ending guy, because I'm a story guy, it's the whole thing, and I have to nail everything. One, for my peace of mind as a storyteller and as this creator of this thing that I'm going to put out into the world and lives on beyond me. Am I trying to make everybody happy? No. But those people that come and invest in it, I want them to be satisfied at the end. And that's really, really hard these days with all the nerd raging that goes on. Oh, you let me down. You didn't do exactly what I wanted you to do. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But as a story goes along, especially something that we've invested as much time into as the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Game of Thrones, both of which Marvel has been going on 11 years, Game of Thrones almost 10 as a show, let alone the books. Now, again, I'm also going to caveat this is George Martin has stated that the TV show is telling one story and the books are telling another story. And I'm really, really hoping Mr. Martin is listening to the fan outrage with what's going on here. But, so what I want to do is I want to talk about first a really, really positive, epic moment that, now I've seen Endgame 3 times, and each time I see it, this moment, again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it and you don't want to get spoiled, either Endgame or this season of Game of Thrones, stop watching now and then pick up on YouTube or here after you see those things. Okay, so spoiler warning, if it's your fault if you stuck around. Okay. Don't scream at me that I ruined your experience. Anyway, so in Endgame, we're in the third act. They're fighting Thanos. Surprise, surprise. Of course they're going to fight Thanos in the end of the third act. Or, towards the end of the third act, because that's just how that works. And there's the moment when Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, it makes an appearance. For those of you who haven't seen all of it. Anyway, he flies back and it goes past Thor and right into Captain America's hand. And he's lifting it, and oh my God, every time I see that, and that's awesome because in Age of Ultron, they set up that expectation. And at first, when I'd seen spoilers for Age of Ultron too. That ship has sailed.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, they in Age of Ultron they're at the party after the party where the Avengers, they're all trying to lift the hammer, and Cap makes it budge a little bit. And it's like, ooh. And then it was like, okay, they're gonna make Captain America be able to pick. As I was seeing Age of Ultron the first time, I was like, oh, in the big climax, Captain America is going to be able to lift that, and he's going to smack the heck out of Ultron, and it's going to be awesome. And by the time I got to the end of my first viewing of Age of Ultron, and that didn't happen, I was like, oh, but they set that up because Vision lifts it and hands it back to Thor, which is to prove that Vision's a good guy because and then they have the discussion and then it faded out of my memory because they played it, because that was the end of phase 2. And then at the end of phase 3, we get Endgame, and Captain America has it, and it's been so far out of my memory that and I was like, oh my God, beautiful. Oh, it was awesome. Like, it was a perfect moment of fulfilling my expectation. All right. So, let's talk about some of the things that they didn't fulfill the expectation on in Endgame. And I know some people are going to be mad at me. And I know some of my really good friends are going to be mad at me because they are having big fanboy nerdgasms over this movie, and it's an epic movie, and it's a pretty movie. However, as writers, no matter how much we love a property, no matter how much we are fanboying over something or fangirling, we also need to be able to step back and think critically. Okay, and I'm not even going to talk about the time travel thing. And I know that that's a big polarizing thing. The time travel thing, I think it could have been handled differently. And then anyway. So I want to talk about Hulk. I think Hulk got the shaft. Okay, I think they did Hulk's character, the Hulk banner thing, a disservice.
There you go.
All right. Oh, gosh, too bad we can't edit this out.
No, too.
So I think they did Hulk's the Hulk banner thing a disservice because they set up right from Avengers, they set up this conflict between Hulk, this sort of the balance between Banner and Hulk, and they played with that more in Age of Ultron. And then they played with that even more in Ragnarok. And they played with it even more in Infinity War. And then when Hulk shows up, Hulk and Banner show up, again, spoiler alert, Hulk and Banner show up and they've merged into the Professor Hulk character from the comics. And that little bit that we've been waiting for the whole time it happens off screen. And that was the first point in that movie where it was like, oh, and I stopped buying in. I still loved the movie. I think it was there are parts of it that were awesome, but that thing that we've been working on since the very first time we see Banner show up in the MCU, and I'm talking about Mark Ruffalo's Banner, not the Edward Norton Banner, who, that thing happened. Mark Ruffalo is Banner and Hulk. Okay, so that was a letdown to me because they did not fulfill that expectation. And that's part of the problem with when you get something as big as the MCU, they kind of couldn't fulfill every expectation. Yeah, so that was one of my big letdowns. And I think because of time, that's the only one I'm going to touch on. What I would have liked to see to kind of change that expectation, and it changes the movie a lot, is I would have set the teams up differently. To go get the Soul Stone, I would have sent Black Widow and Hulk to go get the Soul Stone. And the reason I do that is because the other Hulk storyline expectation that never got fulfilled was the budding romance between Bruce Banner and Natasha Romanoff. They dropped the ball on that. We had one kind of awkward look in Endgame or in Infinity War, and then they left it alone. What was that?
Kit Falbo, new follower, says you could go all GRRM, just have that expectation, and then have the characters suddenly die.
Oh, we're getting to that. Oh, we Game of Thrones is coming. Anyway, so what I would have done is I would have sent Banner and Romanoff off to get the Soul Stone. I would have had sort of a conflict about it and have Banner throw himself off. Banner goes down, goes splat, and the Hulk comes climbing out with the Soul Stone. It's a symbolic death. Okay? So, Banner's gone, Hulk comes back. Has the Soul Stone. Somehow at some point in the conflict, before they undo the snap, there's a fight. And I have to think more about the reworking. But somehow in the big fight, and a bad guy, doesn't have to be Thanos, a bad guy gets the Infinity Gauntlet and goes to do something with it when Hulk grabs it, comes into physical contact with the Soul Stone, and suddenly there's this flash of Banner leaping out of the Soul Stone because of the gamma radiation, because of the gamma whole thing, into Hulk, and then the Professor Hulk coming out of that contact. And this is me just off the top of my head. Earlier this week or this weekend, I was thinking about this whole thing. I'm like, oh my God, that would be, and other people may have other ideas on how to make that satisfying. But it's better than, I was in the lab for a whole bunch of weeks in the gamma and and here I am. Everybody say green. It's so. And here's your homework for y'all on this. Go and think about how you would, for those of you who are fans of the MCU, how you would have handled that differently. What would you do to make the Hulk Banner and the Hulk Banner dichotomy play off well, or at least be more satisfying than that thing happening off screen? And also, how would you have handled the Romanoff Banner thing? And they could have, if it was, the point was to kill Black Widow off. Oh, spoilers again. They could have handled that in any number of other ways and have her have still the heroic, symbolic, redemptive death that she got. Okay.
I think an interesting comment from
Okay.
Kit Falbo. I find fully satisfying endings and not fully satisfying endings and interactions make stories more realistic. And of course, I get shit for writing such things.
Okay. And I had a feeling that somebody was going to come up with the whole realism thing. So, we're writing stories. Now, I'm not talking about happy endings. Okay. Again, this isn't a happy ending or a sad ending or it's not comedy, tragedy, heroic, or whatever. And I made this point the other day on Facebook. Actually, I think I made it yesterday on Facebook, is a tragedy can still be a satisfying story. that's the other thing. We're telling stories. Stories have a specific structure for a specific reason. And when they don't resonate within themselves, we as the creators of the stories have failed. And so we don't have to play fan service. It doesn't have to play out how our readers expect it. And most times they shouldn't. It shouldn't, but it should be. It can be unexpected yet inevitable. We have to build that into the story, and we do that through drafting. We plan and we carefully plan, and oh, this is a twist I didn't expect. Okay, I have to go back and I have to go earn that through the whole thing. Okay. So it doesn't have to be. It doesn't. The expectation doesn't have to be what people expect, but there has to be, if you have built up a thing, it has to pay off in a satisfactory way. Go and study Shakespeare, study the story arcs for Shakespeare's tragedies. Those are inevitable. Okay? They're not happy. Like, there's a line in so I used to do this thing called the Macbeth rap way back in the day. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm done. I'm retired from my...
Is that a 250 follower thing?
No, that's a 1,000 subscriber thing. So there you go. If I get 1,000 subscribers to the Twitch channel, I will live do the Macbeth rap. But in it...
Full costume.
In that, there's a line in that towards the end where Macduff is attacking the castle, and he says, MC Beth, because I thought I was being clever. I said, MC Beth, it's your dying day, is the 5th act of a Shakespeare play. There's a setup, okay?
I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right, you know what? If I get 1,000 subscribers, I will happily, in full costume, do and that's not 1,000 followers. It's 1,000 subscribers. I will happily do the Macbeth rap. Okay.
Ron do the first line. Macbeth, oh, Macbeth, all hail.
Anyway, so yeah, little side note there. So let's talk about, and to that, let's talk about Game of Thrones, okay? And the last couple of episodes, because the last 3 episodes of Game of Thrones have been, oh my God, dumb, stupid, lazy storytelling. Oh, I'm so pissed off. And I really, really hope this is not what George is going to do with the books. Because, oh my God, I have been so livid. And I don't care about the Daenerys thing. You can look to the books. In the books and the show, you can point to evidence that it could go either way with the thing that Daenerys did. I'm okay with both of it. With her just femme raging over the whole thing and burning King's Landing to the girl, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is creating, so through the whole show, both the show and the books, but especially the show, and they've made the show over the last couple of seasons, the true enemy is the enemy beyond the wall. That's the super big bad that all men have to unite, and they treated that as a single episode afterthought. All right? Then that whole battle was just, pardon my language, but the good guys, the heroes, the humans at Winterfell, their entire battle strategy was dumb as shit. It was just like
I saw that getting it on Facebook.
Oh my God. It just was like, oh, good. None of these people who have lived in their lives in castles have any idea of siege warfare. Okay.
So, almost said rage quit about Daenerys.
What was that?
When you're talking about Daenerys destroying everything, rage quit.
Yeah, right. All right. So that's the thing. And then there's so many problems with the rest of that episode. But more to the point is we get that and we get through all of that. And especially with all of the stupid, that goes on with that. We get the Night King walking through, and Theon Greyjoy and his guys are shooting the bows, and they're shooting their magic bows at all the guys, and they're out of arrows, and they're fighting, and they're protecting Bran, and Bran is supposed to be this big super three-eyed crow, like defender of the realms of men, and the Night King comes, he's about to kill, and is like, okay, what's going on? And what is Bran there for? Bran does nothing. Nothing. He's supposedly warged off into some crows or ravens or something, and nothing. There's no Bran at all in that. He just sits in his wheelchair while people die around him, and okay, whatever. There's no. I mean, we have a little bit of back and forth between the dragons, the ice dragon that was killed by the Night King, and the other dragons, but really. The only thing that really happened with that dragon is it started breathing cold fire at Jon Snow, and that was kind of suspenseful, but nothing came from that because Arya with her magic little knife comes and kills the Night King, but we've still got show left. We've still got show to happen, and we still have, and so what's happened is through the whole thing they've set up that the Night King and the Walkers beyond the wall are the big bad. That if we don't unite, they're gonna and they didn't, and so now everything after that feels kind of like an anticlimax, because you have so, and they, in my mind, they did not set up successfully that wasn't going to be the big climax. And I don't care about realism, because if you want to write about realism, take up journalism. Or and because it's story. Stories work because they're stories and they follow certain structures. It doesn't have to be and I got into this once with a guy who was trying to sell everybody on the Aristotelian 4-act structure. There's the 3-act Hollywood structure. There's the 2-act Broadway structure. There's the now 13-act cable TV mini season structure. There's a 9-act structure. There's the 5-act Shakespearean structure. And these structures work, especially the Broadway structure, the Hollywood 3-act structure, the Aristotelian 4-act structure, and the Shakespeare 5-act structure. These work and continue to work because of the universality and of being of the rising action and the climax. So if you want to completely subvert the expectations, which you are totally free to do, absolutely free to do, subvert my expectations and surprise the hell out of me at the end of your story or the end of your book, but I better be able to go back. I better be able to go back through the rest of your story and be able that set it up. If you want a really good story for it, it's not great prose, but it's a heck of a fun read. I can't remember the author's name, but it is one of the best indie fantasy books that I've ever. It's Robert something. It's The Hero Always Wins. And it surprised the twists and the end and there's several twists in it, and each one surprised the ever-loving crap out of me. I was like, oh my gosh! Not the best prose. It's a fun story, interesting magic, and each surprise hit me with like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming, but I should have, because and I didn't even have to go back and reread the book. He had done such a great job of setting everything up. Go check out that book, and yes.
Yeah, Kit Falbo had an interesting comment along the lines of that.
Yeah.
There's a line between real human interaction and consistency of character. And you talk about realism versus things lining up and making sense. That consistency of character is important versus that's not what a real human would do.
Right.
I think, and that line, that separating line is a distinction.
Yes, it is a distinction, but the thing that we want to make sure that we don't use consistency of character to trap ourselves in. And this is a really great point. There's a difference between consistency in character and character arc and consistency of story structure and setting up those expectations. We can absolutely have our characters believe in atypical manners to their characters because that's how humans are. But again, because it's a story, we've got to set those up. We've got to put this, and that's why with everybody doing the, oh my God, Daenerys, oh my God, she did the thing and she's so horrible and my entire childhood is ruined. Okay, whatever. The reason I like what happened, I don't really like it, but I understand what Daenerys's rage quit on the whole thing. Throughout the books, and this is a wonderful point of discussion. This is one of the reasons why I love being able to talk about this. We could go back, two people could go back through the books and the show and point to various reasons why Daenerys' actions were valid and why Daenerys' actions were invalid. Awesome. Have that discussion. Theory craft that forever. Okay? However, all that this happens with the King's Landing stuff, all this should have happened before the Night King. Because for me, now if you disagree, if somebody watching out there disagrees that the Night King should have been handled in that anticlimactic fashion, feel free to point me at evidence. I welcome you to I welcome you to tell me why you think that I'm off base here. Okay? So, anyway, so that's one thing. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a smaller tack, and I'm going to talk about Cersei. Cersei Lannister, who is the other big bad of the series.
Don't.
Oh.
Yep.
Are we getting our banhammer out?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. What did? Huh? Oh, I am. Oh yes, I. Everybody, pardon the language. We got a troll in the channel, and he called me a weird fuck. And yes, I am. I will absolutely cop to being a weird fuck. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled rant about. So Cersei Lannister is really the other big bad of the series, and she's really, and so they. And I don't want to talk about the redemption of Jaime Lannister because we can argue, just like the Daenerys thing, we can argue that no, he needed to stay the monster that he was and in love with Cersei, or that he needed to, or that no, he should have been redeemed, whichever. Okay, so, but Cersei dies by having a ton of rocks fall on her. So unsatisfying. Because there's no direct, there's no, that's almost as unsatisfying as the whole Hulk thing, because it's kind of the equivalent of that happening off of screen. Now, especially because they set up the prophecy in the show, and I believe also in the books, they talk about the prophecy, this soothsayer, when Cersei's a little girl, and one of the reasons why she hates Tyrion so much is because this old crone gave a prophecy that she was going to have a bunch of kids, she was going to outlive a bunch of her kids, and she was going to get strangled to death by her brother. She always thought that meant it was going to be Tyrion because, of course, Jaime loves me, and Jaime would never do anything terrible to me. La 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 la. Okay. I would have been disappointed if Jaime directly did it because that was too obvious. I also would have been upset if Tyrion had done it. So I did a little bit of theory crafting, and they could have done it a different way. But what I really wanted to see, and this kind of goes into the redemption of Jaime Lannister a little bit, because of expectations and story structure and satisfying endings, when I knew the Night King was coming, and they were going to do the Night King before they dealt with Cersei, I wanted to see Jaime Lannister die fighting to defend Bran, which would have done a huge. So you're not up on. Okay, so to catch Cody up, in the very first episode, Bran, as a little boy, is running around Castle Winterfell, climbing around and everything. He's the one that gets pushed out. What the things I do for love.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of the absolute best moments, and one of the reasons why I thought that they were leading to this, was when Jaime goes up to Winterfell as they're getting ready for the big bad battle. He runs. They're like, "Why should we keep you alive?" and everything like that, and I can't remember what the catalyst is, but Bran says the things we do for love, because that's what Jaime said when he pushes him out the window, and Jaime at this point doesn't know that Bran is still alive.
Oh damn!
Still, yeah. Anyway, so awkward. Anyway, so I was like, oh, this would be perfect. So this is what I want. This is what, in my little fan brain, and they could have handled it differently, but had I been writing it, to go back to, hey, think about your stories and think about structures, what I would have done is I would have had Jaime Lannister die defending Bran from the Night King. And you could have even done this, it could have been there were some super, even if we didn't do the Night King right away and we had a distraction or something, somebody goes to try and kill Bran, because that's the big target for the Night King and all them. Somebody goes to try and kill Bran. Jaime dies defending Bran. Other people come in at the last minute. Yay! Oh, Jaime, he's redeemed from the thing that he did in the very first episode. Perfect closing arc for that character. And then Arya gets Jaime's face, because Arya can put people's faces on and become those people.
That's weird.
It's so awesome. She does it a couple of times. It's really, really, really cool. Anyway, so she gets the face.
We're getting there, K-Def. Hold on.
What? So wait.
Isn't that a trope satisfying for eye roll? Like, oh, it's satisfying. But no, he's building.
No. So what happened, and the reason that this is, yes, it's kind of a tropey thing. However, we're about to subvert it because this ties into the prophecy, right? So Arya gets Jaime's face. Arya takes Jaime's face down to King's Landing where Cersei is, and goes and uses Jaime Lannister's face to get into the Red Keep, get one-on-one private time with Cersei Lannister, the big bad, and strangles the crap out of her, fulfilling the prophecy and giving us a satisfying close to Cersei. And even better, if if there's a struggle and there's noise and she strangles him, and as she strangles him, the mountain comes in, big all zombified mountain, and the Hound comes in, and we have this big thing going on that would have been epic and awesome, and not the anticlimax of, oh, I got crushed by a bunch of rocks. So, again, this is just me talking. This isn't, I haven't, it's just one of those things I'm thinking about, and because that's how I think about stories. And those would have been my satisfactory endings, and or resolutions to those. Other people's mileage may vary. The thing, and here's the other thing that is the big problem with Game of Thrones, and a little bit with the MCU on the other side. Stories, even tragedies, have to have balance in their mood. Shakespeare knew that. That's why every single one of his tragedies has at least one clownish character. Multiple characters. Hamlet is doomed from the start. However, he has victories and victories and victories and victories, not lose, and lose. Or lose, little bit of victory and lose again. And that's the thing that's going on in Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is the good guys are lose. Little bit of victory last season, and then lose and lose more. there's not balance. Last season was so satisfying because finally most of the douchebag characters were coming to their just ends, and we're seeing the heroes on the rise. And then we get to this season, and oh my God, they're back to being stupid. They're back to being they're stupid for the sake of plot, and that's so totally unsatisfying. So anyway, I'm gonna keep going and going and going and going because I'm like so. And yeah, sometimes it's tropey, but there's a difference between being tropey and being cliche. A trope is an anchor in memory, and it depends on how you handle the trope. For example, Jamie doing the pushing Bran out the window and then dying defending Bran at the end. That is something that over the course of the scope of the books on the show is not necessarily something that's going to be readily apparent as something that's inevitable to happen. And that's the thing is your endings should be and can be surprising. They can be shocking, but if you look at the amount of like raging, not just even raging, but just like what where did that come from? Why? Like with what's going on with Game of Thrones, the writers aren't doing their job, and and I feel so bad for those actors because like wait, what? Like and that's one of the reasons why I watch WWE. Because WWE is all about fulfilling expectations. If you watch WWE storylines over a while, some of them get formulaic, some of them don't, but they set up what's going on a match level. The physicality. If you want to learn to write fights just from a physical standpoint, watch WWE because each fight is a story. Hey, remember, Cody, put yourself up.
Putting myself up. Yes.
Hey, remember that time I made you watch the pay-per-view and you were like, "Oh my God, you're gonna make me watch this," and I broke it down what was going on and how the fight was working and the storycraft behind it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Right. So go watch WWE so you can learn how to tell stories in combat. I mean, so anyway. Combat. Yeah. But remember, your combat, realism in combat, I mean, it's a story. And it has to do something. It can't just be there for being there. It's just like your sex. In your stories, it has to have something. There has to be a reason behind it. And I think that, it can't be just from shock value. Everything has to be considered. Everything has to be thought out. Everything has to serve from the beginning to the very end. Everything has to be, whether you're a pantser, whether you're a plotter, or as I like to say, an architect or a gardener, no matter your process, the finished thing, when you put it into the world, everything has to serve the totality of the story. In his book, The Art of Fiction, which you should all have and you should all read, John Gardner talks about all the elements of the craft of fiction being woven together. And if you pull one out, the whole thing falls apart. Not like a tapestry where you can pull one thread, there's still most of it there. It should be if you pull one piece out of your manuscript or out of your work, your art that you're creating, the whole thing falls apart, which is kind of what happened this season with Game of Thrones. Is they it's just like what anyway. All right, so let's open it up for questions. I'll because I've been going for a while. I would debate that tragedies are more satire and comedy with a hint of tragedy than a tragedy with a hint of comedy.
That's what I was that's a different
That
discussion.
was a totally different discussion. And that would require us to get into definitions of tragedy and comedy. for the sake of this discussion, I was speaking of tragedy being the ultimate demise of the hero because of their tragic flaw. Usually something that was a character of noble birth, and a comedy is anything that's not a tragedy. Because the Divine Comedy, Dante, it's called the Divine Comedy because ultimately that story is not a tragedy, and that's how the ancient storytellers, that's how they defined comedy and tragedy. All right.
So I guess kind of touching on it, the idea that the end can ruin a whole series.
Yes, seen it time and time again. Seen it time and time again. So, but we've still got one episode left. Maybe they'll pull it out.
Maybe they'll pull something out.
So, no.
How I Met Your Mother, Rondu.
Oh, I never watched How You Met Your Mother, but yes, that's another one that was totally unsatisfying because they had set up the ending, they had set up the ending at the very beginning of the show and then moved beyond it, but still kept the ending.
I know, Cleo, the last season of Dexter ruined the series.
Yes.
So never go back and watch it again.
So, and then the
first book of Dexter was horrible.
I haven't read the books. I just watched the all but the last season of Dexter, and I'll give you my headcanon for what happened in the penultimate at the last episode of the penultimate season of Dexter, and that's where it ends. Oh wow! Oh, Brandu, thank you so much.
5 subs.
All right, so let's see. I'm going to stick my head down here so I can read the screen again. So we have Elahen, Kit Falbo, Bethnis12, KDef, and Dryad T. You have all been gifted subscriptions to my Twitch channel from Brandu. You should all say thank you very much to him.
Thank you, Brandu.
Thank you so much, Brandu. You are awesome. I adore you. So does anybody have any questions about this? R.I.P. Good storytelling in Hollywood.
Rip good story. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. So,
So you read off the recipients.
Oh yes. Okay, so we had so Brondu gave out 5 subscriptions. Auntie Cleo, thank you again for subscribing, and Kit Falbo, that's how I'm gonna pronounce that. Kit Falbo, thank you so much for following. We're now up to 102. There we go. 102. There's the camera. So we only have 148 more to go before I do the super extended, and talk about you all writing. So in the next day or two, I'll put up the thing. I'll put the link to the email so that you guys can start sending me your work, and I can start using it to reiterate to emphasize points on the episodes. Yeah. So I have a Patreon. If you like what I do, please subscribe either to the Twitch channel or go support my Patreon.
I had a question.
I have a couple of I'll get to M Flukes in a moment. For my Patreon, I give I have a story that I'm working on in single page vignettes, the 9/10ths project. It's an interesting experiment that I'm doing with tone and voice and form and language, and that explores the nature of identity through the backdrop of a kind of almost tropey fantasy story, but not. Anyway, for those of you who know my other works, on Monday I'm going to start posting rough draft chapters of the 3rd Dragonbone Flute novella for my members to my Patreon to read just for free, and there's all sorts of neat stuff that just my patrons are going to get. All right, so what is M Fluke's question?
M Fluke, and then one from KDef. What's an example of a satisfying ending that you can think of that is set up well early on? I need And there,
Ooh.
Mvluke is continuing the gift sub. They got some brand new, so a resub from.
Oh, excellent. All right. So, let me think. What's KDEF's question?
Actually, KDEF kind of works into that.
Okay.
Now we know how to spot expectations and fulfillment. Any techniques to set up those from the first draft or outline?
Right. Okay. Excellent.
Very good.
So, as I put the story up on the back burner, as I put the question of any stories, because I want to try and use something that's not mine. Techniques is one of the things. So I'm going to talk about Halloween Jack, the Halloween Jack books.
So something that is yours.
Yes, but this isn't because I don't want to spoil my own books for people that haven't read them. I'm totally happy to talk about my books. So you should all go buy all of them, and that would be awesome. So but for KDev's question is the Halloween Jack books. Halloween Jack, the character, is smarter than I am. I kind of wrote them backwards, or I knew where I was going, and so that way I had the setup because, especially in the first book, Halloween Jack has a scheme that he comes up with that goes over a course of years that hits almost everything when it needs to hit, and so he had to plan that well ahead of time. And because of the nature of the conflict, something has to happen. Something drastic has to happen, which it always should. And the drastic thing happens right at the end of chapter 10. And it's out of all my fiction, out of everything that I've written, that's the one where I get the most messages and the most outrage when people get to the end of chapter 10 of Halloween Jack and they go, "Oh my God, what did you do?" But it's inevitable. If you look at the book and you look at setup and you look at what's going on in the backstory and everything like that, what happens at the end of chapter 10 to set up then the final resolution of the book, it has to happen. No way around it. So yeah, you can go study that one. I want to. Oh God, what's a really good one what's a really good one?
Anything with Whedon?
Oh, Joss Whedon. Yeah, Joss Whedon's really good about that. Certain characters, he's oh, you know what? Let's talk about Dr. Horrible.
Hey.
Okay, for all of you who don't, go watch Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. M. Fluke, have you seen Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog? And I'll wait as the stream catches up so she can answer that. So there's also what's one that's a really, oh God, okay, awesome, you have. Okay, so you know what happens at the end of Dr. Horrible, and for those who haven't seen Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm going to use but in a nutshell, Dr. Horrible is played by Neil Patrick Harris, and he's awesome. And he's this kind of 2-bit wannabe supervillain who's trying to get into the evil League of Evil. And he gets this notification from the evil League of Evil. And they say, "You've got to do a thing." And he tries to do a thing. And he screws up. And so they send him another communication. And it says, "In order to really get in, because we saw what you did and you goofed it, and to really, you've got to do this other thing." And he doesn't want to do the other thing. He really doesn't want to do the other thing. Because ultimately, he's not really evil-ish. He's more misunderstood. But what happens is that everybody thinks that he does the thing, but it doesn't happen in the way that it sets up that he's going to try and do the thing, and he screws up that too, and then something else happens and screws up, and the thing happens, and everybody thinks that he did the thing, and he gets into the evil league. He gets into the evil League of Evil, but not the way he really wanted to, and yeah, go watch it. But does that make sense? If you look back over the whole thing, in order for him to get into, because the point is he's trying to get into the evil League of Evil. He gets into the evil League of Evil, but that's a spoiler alert. But so anyway, so that's go watch Dr. Horrible again, and go look at how all of that gets set up. Because those three characters are the Captain Hammer, Penny, and Dr. Horrible are all set up from the beginning, and it's they go on to that's what's happened.
Yes, it does. Now I need to go rewatch.
So that's one. Another one is so many. I'm trying to think of.
Poor Shepard dying kind of off screen.
Well, kind of, but Shepard's death. The purpose of Shepard's death, whether we see, because he is not. His death isn't the thing. It's the conversation he has with Mal right before he dies, and but the other thing is because that leads us into the third act. That's the transition from the second act to the third act, and so that's a different kind of thing than the dying on screen. And we didn't have the setup, like to reference the Hulk thing. We didn't have how many movies and how many years of that expectation waiting to be fulfilled. It's a Joss Whedon story, so we knew people were going to die because that's just how Joss Whedon stories work.
What's the worst thing that can happen to a Joss Whedon character?
They
get what they want.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try and think of really quick one more that's a really good example that a lot of people would know. Since we already did this, we already did the spoilers and everything like that. Tony Stark dying at the end of Endgame, because I gave the spoiler alert warnings. Tony Stark dying at the end of Endgame, because we set that expectation up from both of the previous Avengers movies, because he went through the big hole in space and managed to come out of that twice, because first he made it back through the hole in space before it closed, and then the Hulk caught him before he crashed. And I think there was a thing where it looked like he was also potentially going to die at one point in Age of Ultron, and he made it out. So, books. Who reads books?
So what about books?
What about books? Okay, let's talk about books. I'm gonna. Because books are harder to talk about because not everybody's read all of the same books and everything like that. Boromir's Betrayal. If you go through and look at his journey through Fellowship of the Ring. And into because I think in the books, which I haven't read in a long time, but I think in the books his betrayal comes at the beginning of Two Towers. That's one that's set up, I think, well.
I haven't seen most of what you talked about.
Oh, well, okay. Oh, here's one that's really, really, really good. Is Dead Again. It stars Derek Jacobi, Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson, and Robin Williams. And it is it's a reincarnation murder mystery. It's be prepared to be wigged out by scissors for a while, It is so good, and so many twists and so many turns about who is who and who is who and where they came from and what's going on with the story and everything. Go. That's your homework, everybody. Go watch Dead Again. Find it, watch it, and it sets everything up. You'll probably need to watch it twice because you'll get the clues and everything like that. All right.
11/22/63.
That's a Stephen King story that I haven't read.
I'm so uncultured.
Oh my god. The Dark Tower. The whole 7-book series of The Dark Tower. It was just one of the few things Stephen King wrote that ended well, not just once but 3 times. It was like 3 different endings, and it was one right after the other, and they were amazing, each and every one of them. And so that was one that was really good. Okay, so and then I'm going to try and think of one more book. Okay, cool. You read that and you enjoyed it. Excellent.
Excellent.
Or a short story, a book or a short story. I'm trying to think.
Anything from Malazan? Even any sub arcs?
Oh God.
I just know that's.
Yeah, no, because if I start going into Malazan is awesome, and I can't.
Contact is an interesting. The movie?
Oh yeah. Contact. Well, it's also a book too. It was a
really?
book first. Yeah, it was a book first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank at this point because I could talk about City of Bohane, but I'm pretty sure nobody's read City of Bohane, which you should all go read because it's awesome. It's like what would happen if you did Clockwork Orange with just the gang warfare stuff without any of the psychological weirdness in an Irish city in the late part of this century. It's awesome. Just the gang warfare. It's totally awesome, and the outcome is surprising yet inevitable. Anyway, we've been going for an hour. Okay, so we've been going for an hour and a change. Thank you everybody for hanging out as I have ranted and pontificated and gone off on all of this stuff. So and again, one of the things, because I'm engaged in a bit of criticism here, and one of the things that I believe as a critic, true criticism is an invitation for discussion and engagement. So if you disagree with what I've said, wherever you happen to hang out online, post, hey, I disagree with Gallowclass. He said this and he's wrong because of this, but you better back it up because I will come after you with my A game if I have the time. Or if I think that, or I'll come in, or I'll revisit my thoughts if I think that your points are valid and well thought out and considered, or at least I'll think about them. Because that's the other thing, is criticism is curious. And I am curious about stories, which is why I do this, and I want to inspire other people to be curious about stories and about writing and about this crazy thing that we're doing together alone. So anyway, again, thanks everybody. Check the Gallowclass page on my website for the email in the next couple days about submissions. Patreon is getting a bunch of new stuff coming up real soon, and at 250 followers, we'll do the big extended special edition of the Gallowclass live. And again, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you, Brandoob, for subscribing. Everybody, thanks all of you for helping us meet the first goal of 100 followers. Remember, as you're going and you're doing your thing and you're creating your fiction or your poetry or your criticism or your essays, writing, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So pace yourself.